new book reports that you said he couldn't run a bath. Did you say that?
Well, I'm not, you know, there's a lot of things that were said in that book that I don't recognise to be.
The coalition government.
No, they raised the capital gains tax in the coalition government.
Well, what I'm saying, Andrew, and
We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, and we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for your incredible support. To celebrate, we're giving away £1,000 to 10 lucky winners, £100 each. Here's how to enter. Subscribe to our channel. Like this post. Drop your postcode in the comments. Once we hit 10,000 subscribers, we'll randomly select the winners. Don't miss your chance to be part of the £1,000 giveaway. Start now, and it could be you. Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, has been in the spotlight recently over a comment she allegedly made about Prime Minister Keir Starmer. According to a new book titled Get In by Patrick Maguire and Gabriel Pogrund, Rayner reportedly texted a confidant saying Starmer was incapable of running a bath. When questioned about this, she didn't directly deny it, dismissing the claim as tittle-tattle. This situation has raised eyebrows, especially since Rayner has publicly praised Starmer's leadership, describing him as absolutely his own worst critic and expressing confidence in his commitment to delivering on Labour's promises.
A new book reports that you said he couldn't run a bath. Did you say that?
Well, I'm not, you know, there's a lot of things that were said in that book that I don't recognise, to be honest.
So did you not say that?
And it's tittle-tattle, so I don't recognise what was said in that book.
But that's not tittle-tattle, that's what the woman who's now the Deputy Prime Minister is reported to have said about the now Prime Minister.
Sure, and there was lots of other things that people have said about me or anyone else, and no, I don't recognise ever saying that to anybody. But we all have frustrations when we're at work sometimes, and I'm sure people have been frustrated with me.
The contrast between Angela Rayner's alleged private criticism and her public support has sparked discussions about potential internal tensions within the Labour Party's leadership. Observers are now questioning how such dynamics might affect their ability to govern effectively and achieve their goals for the country. Angela Rayner is making headlines again, and not for reasons she'd want. A new book claims she once said Keir Starmer couldn't run a bath. That's a pretty brutal remark about the man now running the country. The timing couldn't be worse. Just days before this surfaced, she was publicly singing Starmer's praises, calling him his own worst critic, and insisting she fully supports his leadership.
When politicians refuse to deny something, it means it's true. So, Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, has been quoted today contemptuously saying that the Prime Minister couldn't run a bath, that Keir Starmer couldn't run a bath.
Well, she's right.
So what happens when Angela Rayner is confronted with her own words? Does she own it, apologise, or laugh it off? No, she dodges. Instead of denying it outright, she calls it tittle-tattle. That's politician speak for let's move on. But people aren't moving on. The fact that she didn't refute it outright makes it seem even more believable. It's awkward, to say the least. 1 minute she's on TV backing Starmer as a strong and capable leader. The next, we're hearing she once thought he couldn't even manage basic life skills. If she really believed that back then, has her opinion genuinely changed? Or is she just saying what's politically convenient? This whole situation raises real questions. If the second most powerful person in the country once doubted the first, what does that say about Labour's leadership? More importantly, are they really on the same page? Angela Rayner recently faced a grilling from veteran journalist Andrew Neil. In a tense interview, Neil challenged her on several fronts, highlighting inconsistencies in her statements and questioning the accuracy of her figures. He pressed her on Labour's housing targets, suggesting that her numbers didn't add up and implying that she lacked a firm grasp of the data.
So you need to get your policies right. What would the capital gains tax be under a Labour government, and how much would that raise compared to now?
But I've told you, Andrew, what our priority is. It's about how we invest in our public services.
No, I'm asking you how you would raise the money. How much money would you recoup?
Excuse
me, it's important you answer the questions because you want people's votes. How much extra money would you raise by changing the current corporation tax and capital gains tax structures?
But Andrew,
Neil's critique centred on the idea that Rayner was more focused on delivering rehearsed talking points than engaging with the specifics of policy. He argued that this approach exposed a superficial understanding of the issues at hand. For instance, when discussing economic policies, Rayner appeared flustered and struggled to provide clear answers, reinforcing Neil's point that she might not fully comprehend the details of her own proposals. This exchange has led to broader discussions about the depth of knowledge possessed by some political leaders. Critics argue that Rayner's performance in the interview reflects a concerning lack of preparedness, especially when discussing complex policy matters. Supporters, however, contend that such interviews are designed to trip up politicians and that Rayner's passion for her policies should not be overshadowed by a single challenging encounter.
The smart thing for her to do, the obvious thing would be to say, no, I absolutely didn't say it. I'll tell you why she's not denying it, is because she fears she might have been recorded.
Yep.
So she did say it. She fears she might be recorded, and if she said, no, I didn't say it, somebody would say, well, you did. And that will be toast for her. So she did say that Keir Starmer couldn't run a bath, which is one of the very few accurate things Angela Rayner has ever said.
Regardless, the interview has undeniably sparked debate about the importance of detailed policy knowledge versus the ability to communicate broader visions in politics. Angela Rayner is steadfast in her commitment to building 1.5 million homes by 2029. She acknowledges the challenges but remains determined to meet this ambitious target. However, experts express skepticism about the feasibility of this goal. The Centre for Cities think tank warns that even with optimal private sector performance, the government could fall short by nearly 388,000 homes. They advocate for more radical planning reforms, such as adopting a European-style zoning system and reconsidering green belt land usage to bridge this gap. Industry analysts also highlight significant obstacles, including a severe shortage of skilled construction workers. The UK may need an additional 250,000 workers by 2028 to meet housing demands. This shortage raises concerns about the country's reliance on foreign labour to achieve its housing objectives.
In a context where public money is short and the economy is stuttering. Now, housing associations don't always have the cash to sign up to new developments. Builders don't always want to build homes if there might not be buyers at the end. The growth forecasts for the government have been downgraded. And also the government's actually made it more expensive for first-time buyers. You've hiked stamp duty, costs have been going up for builders, they'll have to pay more for national insurance for their staff. I mean, it's like you're putting the brake on and the accelerator on at the same time.
The housing market at the moment, there is a considerable amount of problems with supply. So by making sure we're building the homes we desperately need and we're ramping up that supply, that will then help in the medium to long term. We've given the mortgage guarantee scheme so that we've got the pipeline of people that are able to come on and the affordability. We've pushed councils and local authorities to identify the land, have a local plan and build the houses we desperately need. We've helped the social landlords with the changes I've made to Right to Buy and keeping the receipts for that. The £500 million that the Chancellor announced already for the Affordable Homes Programme, all these measures, including the package around planning, there's no excuses to not build those homes that people.
Furthermore, the construction industry faces challenges like high building costs and softened demand due to increased mortgage rates. Private developers holding numerous undeveloped plots may hesitate to build amid potential price declines. Analysts remain skeptical about significant increases in housing output by major builders under current conditions. The ambition to build 1.5 million homes is clear, but achieving this target will require overcoming substantial hurdles in planning, workforce capacity, and market dynamics. Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer may present a united front, but history tells a different story. Their relationship has been anything but smooth. Back in 2021, Labour suffered a humiliating defeat in the local elections, and instead of taking the blame, Starmer decided to shake up his team, starting with Rayner. He removed her as Labour's party chair and national campaign coordinator, a move that sparked immediate backlash. Labour heavyweights like John McDonnell accused him of throwing his own deputy under the bus, calling it a cowardly avoidance of responsibility. Even Andy Burnham, a potential future leadership rival, publicly criticised the decision.
Can happen, you know, that we haven't built on this scale since the end of the Second World War in the 1950s. We were able to do it then, we can do it now. We just need all elements of the state, including local government, working with us. And I believe that getting that plan right will deliver the homes that people desperately need.
Rayner, furious and blindsided, reportedly confronted Starmer in a heated exchange. At one point, she even considered challenging him for the leadership but ultimately accepted a reshuffled role. However, that resentment didn't just disappear. Fast forward to 2024, and we now hear claims that Rayner privately said Starmer couldn't run a bath. Whether it was a joke or an actual criticism, it raises questions. Does she truly believe in Starmer's leadership? This kind of internal friction doesn't just disappear overnight. If Labour's two top figures have a history of clashes, how well can they actually work together to govern? If they're not on the same page, how can they expect the country to trust them with the big decisions?
There are plenty of homes, she says, Yeah. But we have a housing crisis. Plenty of houses, plenty of homes in this country, but we have a housing shortage. Which is it, Angela? You're going to have to make your mind up. Do we have a housing shortage, or do we have too many houses? That's what you said. You said we have plenty of houses, but we've got a housing shortage. Which is it? Don't you know? And don't you think, Russell, that she should get a better answer for Trevor Phillips's excellent point? Said if you crunch the numbers, 5 out of every 7 of these alleged new homes that the government's going to build will go to migrants.
Yeah.
She didn't have an answer for that.
So that she's completely painted into a corner here on the basis that, as we said earlier, Rachel Reeves' own budget said that we will see over 2 million migrants come into this country, net, so more, but obviously some will leave, before 2020.
Public trust in politicians is already shaky, and Labour's internal tensions aren't helping. When Angela Rayner's alleged comment about Keir Starmer surfaced, saying he couldn't run a bath, it reinforced the idea that even his own team has doubts about him. Whether she meant it or not, the damage was done. Voters don't just hear words, they see cracks in leadership. If his own deputy once questioned his competence, why shouldn't the public? These internal disputes also create a bigger problem. Labour is trying to present itself as a strong, united alternative to the Conservatives. But unity is hard to sell when the second most powerful person in the party has a history of clashing with the leader. It raises real doubts about how effectively they can govern. If they can't manage their own differences, how will they handle the country's biggest issues: housing, the economy, immigration?
Well, for me, it's common sense. We were elected for this because people can see it. Every one of your viewers today will know somebody in their family that actually desperately needs a council house, or desperately wants to get on the housing ladder, or they're stuck in house that's not appropriate for them because they can't downsize because the homes are not available. So they know this has to happen, and therefore I'm determined to change things. We're the builders, we're not going to be the blockers.
Trust is everything in politics. The moment voters sense instability at the top, they start looking elsewhere. With a general election on the horizon, Starmer and Rayner need to convince the public they're on the same page. If they can't, Labour risks handing ammunition to their opponents and making voters wonder if real change is actually possible, or if it's just more of the same political infighting. Labour is standing at a critical crossroads. With Keir Starmer as Prime Minister and Angela Rayner as his deputy, the party has promised stability, competence, and real change for the UK. But internal tensions tell a different story. Rayner's past comment about Starmer, whether a joke or a genuine criticism, lingers in the air. If his own deputy once questioned his ability to lead, how can the public be expected to fully trust him?
Well, Keir has been completely open about wanting to do his best for this country, and I admire him for that. I've worked with Keir now for a number of years. Now, I am straight talking, me and Keir don't always agree on everything, but the one thing I will say about him is he won't do what he thinks is popular. What he wants to do is deliver, because there's nobody worse critic to Keir than Keir. In my understanding of how he works and my personal experience with him is...
Beyond that, Labour's ambitious promises, like building 1.5 million homes, are already facing serious scepticism. Andrew Neil's interview exposed Rayner's shaky grasp of policy details, raising concerns about whether the leadership team actually has a strong, deliverable plan or if they're just selling big ideas without a roadmap. Meanwhile, past clashes between Starmer and Rayner make it clear that not everything behind the scenes is as smooth as they want voters to believe. This isn't just political gossip, it's about leadership, trust, and whether this government can truly deliver. Can Starmer and Rayner convince the country they're on the same page, or will these internal cracks turn into full-blown fractures that derail their plans? If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.